So I don't know if most people realize the fact that musicians are also like big business owners or small business owners or wherever you are in your career, size business owners. And one thing that I personally love about the music industry is the business aspect of it and the creative aspect and the branding aspect. And, like, for example, I mean, I'm wearing one of my own shirts where, I have a tattoo of this image right here. It's my dog. But, like, I often have my More Than Music shirts, or I have my, 10 branded hats and stuff. And, like, I think branding is one of the most interesting things about in the music industry, and branding in that is merch. And the Rolling Stones icon of the tongue is one of the most iconic brands out there. You see it everywhere. You know what it is. Even if you don't exactly know what it is or any of their music, you've seen the image before. And this video was recommended like just on my YouTube like algorithm. I was like, I want to watch this, but I also figured how it'd be cool to watch it with you because maybe there's something I can comment on. And I'm going to be watching it anyway. So this is the story of how the most famous tongue in history, which is the Rolling Stones tongue, was created. So I'm really interested in seeing this.
Sticking your tongue out is the ultimate sign of rock and roll. But why? This man has something to do with it.
That's crazy.
Meet John Pash. He designed the most famous tongue in history.
I was at the Royal College up to 1970, doing 3 years at a design course there. When I was in my last year, the college got a phone call from the Stones office saying, would a student go along and talk to Mick Jagger about a forthcoming tour? I think the tutor was quite a sort of fan of my work, so I got the gig. Mick said...
So what size were they in their career at this point? Were they kind of like, why would you call a college to get artwork done? I'm surprised by this. Like, were they just starting out? Were they relatively well known? Because this seems like such an odd mix-up.
Wanted something related to more touring. We shared an interest in sort of 1930s, 1940s tour posters, particularly French ones. I took a couple of weeks working on the poster and brought it back to Mick. He said, well, I quite like it, but I think you can do better.
Yeah.
And you can imagine, I thought, oh God, I've blown it.
John drew up another version, and this time the band loved it.
So it's interesting, if you look back in history, the popularity of tour posters, I wouldn't say with the increase of social media that they're super popular anymore. But you go back in history and people used to collect them. And you see that in the 60s and 70s and 80s, they were all over the place and they were collector's items. And it's an interesting piece of music history that I don't think is recognized as much anymore.
His poster was a triumph, and before long, another project was on the cards.
Oh, interesting.
They had a sort of small logo in mind for their new record label. I got a letter and then a call asking if I'd go and meet Mick Jagger at his house in Shady Walk. So I went along there and had a meeting with him. He wanted something to stand alone, something like the Shell logo on the petrol stations at the time. And he showed me a cutting that he found in the local newsagent. The image was of the Indian goddess Kali with her tongue sticking out.
Very interesting.
And I think it was that moment that was the real spark. It represented, I suppose, anti-authority.
First of all, that's sick, that the fact that it's painted on him. That is so interesting that so one of the things I talk about all the time on my channel is the fact that inspiration can strike anywhere. And you hear, I think he was talking about Mick Jagger right here, said he was inspired by the Indian goddess and how interesting is that? The image he saw in a magazine inspired a logo that is now known by millions if not billions of people. And it's just as a creative, I think it's so important just to stay open to opportunity and always be looking for inspiration. You never know where you're gonna find it.
It's like kids sticking their tongue out. It's rebellious. It kind of fitted what the Stones represented at that time. I went home and got out my sketchbook and pencils and tried to draw a disembodied tongue. I did 3 or 4 different angles of it. One of the rough designs seemed to be much better than the rest of them.
I'd love to see the other designs.
Got to recommend to Mick when we had our next meeting. Now, some people say to me that it was inspired by Mick Jagger's mouth, but in fact it wasn't. I always saw it as basically a woman's mouth because I wanted to use a very strong red, obviously, to grab attention.
The tongue had its first big debut on the inside sleeve of the Rolling Stones' Sticky Fingers album.
So, I guess that's how art was like. What was this? The 70s. There was no graphic designers back then, so it was painted, which is crazy.
But before long, it was stamped everywhere. These rebellious red lips became a global icon.
I sometimes get emails from people that are particularly one which some guy had made his girlfriend have it tattooed on her bottom and sent me a photograph, which I thought was going a bit too far, but that's Rolling Stones fans for you. It's obviously interesting to see how many people wear the t-shirts. When I see somebody walking down the street and I'm together with my wife, I just give her a nudge, and that's enough to say, oh yes, I've clocked that.
That is completely insane, man. You just never know as an artist, man. Unless he was paid a one-off sum, if he created some sort of royalty deal, man, that guy, he made off, man. He made off, and it's one of the most interesting things in the music industry. And I don't know, it's just so crazy, and I find that stuff so interesting and so inspiring to some of you guys as well. So I hope you enjoyed that and enjoyed a little commentary. So thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. God bless and peace.